Hi guys, and welcome back to the Alizee show. I am your host, Alizee, and today I am joined by Evangelina Scobb. All right, mate.
Hello, how are you?
Do you know what? I'm having an issue with something recently, and and I figure this is fine to talk about because Emma Chamberlain has been talking about the same thing. Here is my issue, right?
Okay.
I've been having the worst cravings for cigarettes.
Does Emma Chamberlain smoke?
She vapes, like, but nicotine vapes.
Mm,
So she's
okay.
been talking about her nicotine on off addiction. But like, usually I used to crave vapes because they taste nice, right? But no, at the moment, I'm really craving just cigarettes, just tar, just smoke.
Do you think it's like stress or the weather or like are you just trying to be cool? Like what is going on here?
I think it's a mix of all those things, you know?
hmm
Like,
Yeah.
well, actually, have you seen Russian Doll on Netflix?
I started it ages ago. I think like the first episode or two.
Mm. Well, she's constantly smoking in that, like, proper
Mm.
cigarettes. And that kind of like kickstarted it a little bit because I was like, oh man, like that is nice. I do miss just the harshness of a cigarette. And I've been really good actually. I think like to my memory, I think I've only had two cigarettes for the entire year.
Okay. Well, that's really good considering it's like the end of the year. If you say that
Right?
in January, it's going to be like,
Like I've vaped here and there throughout the year because I'm a tiny bit of a social vapor. I will admit that. But even then, it depends. Like if I'm in a social scenario but no one vapes, then or smokes, then I'm not gonna have any. But if it's more of like a party scenario where people are drinking and maybe like there's a little bit of it going around, then I will vape then because it helps me. It kind of helps me deal with people drinking. It makes me feel like I'm not totally missing out on something if I have a little vape.
Mhm.
But yeah, cigarettes. I've only had two this year, and they were disgusting. They were so vile. I was like, nah, I'm like done with this. It's so gross. But now I'm just craving cigarettes, and it's weird. And I think it is kind of like the cold weather as well. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is because like summer, it's all muggy and you don't really want to be smoking or vaping because it just like feels gross. But when it's cold, it's such a vibe to have a cigarette and a coffee.
Yeah, no, it's like the aesthetic. It's kind of like, what are they saying on TikTok at the moment? Like Slavic aesthetic, which like, how dare
Mm.
you steal my culture? But like, yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand, I guess.
So yeah, I'm struggling with that. It's taking a lot of my willpower to not go to the shops and buy a pack of cigarettes.
Well, why don't you
I
like think of it this way? Cigarettes are really fucking expensive. You could spend that
I
money on
know.
something else.
Yeah, two vapes.
Exactly. Yeah, be healthy.
But I kind of feel like with vaping now, like we're the guinea pig generation, right? And
Mhm.
what if it turns out the vapes are what like I kind of feel like
They are definitely worse.
well, yeah,
They're
so
worse.
so is it not better that I just have a cigarette?
I mean, I always say, and I people think I'm joking. I'm not. You'd probably be better off smoking cigarettes than vapes. I think vapes are disgusting. I think they're awful, and they're probably going to kill everybody in 10 years. You're all just going to drop dead. So don't vape. Just like get a cigarette off somebody and be done with it.
And they're not vaping, it's not satisfying like a cigarette. It really burns you and it's like, oh yeah, I've had a cigarette. I mean, there are those maniacs that smoke like two packs a day and it's like it's when some people it's like, oh, this guy smokes 60 cigarettes a day. It's like you're awake for about 16 hours of the day. How the hell are you having like how are you fitting that many in? Like you got to screw loose. But like the average person maybe had like 10, like five. What, why are you laughing like that? Did you have 60 a day?
I used to smoke 2 packs a day, yeah. Not
How?
60.
How did you
Well,
find the
because you'd have three
time?
with a coffee, and then I have
What?
3 coffees a day. Yeah, three. One before the coffee, one during the coffee, and one after. And then you have like three
No,
coffees a day. And then you also have one in the morning when you get up. And then you have a couple like going out, a couple after like food and stuff.
I finally met someone who used to smoke two packs. How did you give up then? Because
Yeah.
like I've never been like the only time I would ever chain smoke is if I was drinking or like drugging or something, If I was high,
Yeah.
fine. But like I've always I feel like I've always had a very healthy kind of, I don't have a dependency on nicotine, right? Even though I'm craving it
Hmm.
right now, I haven't gone to the shops and bought it. Like I can go months without having a vape or having a cigarette. I feel like I kind of
Hmm.
have a very healthy, because I do. This is the wrong message to put out, but I don't believe that one cigarette is going to kill you. I feel like if you're in London and you're in Brixton, the air pollution levels, like that's going to kill you,
Hmm.
like no and I mentioned Brixton specifically because London has like a air pollution quota they're meant to meet throughout the entire year, and I think Brixton is like the worst borough for it. Like they get through their entire year's worth of like quota in a few weeks. Like by the
Oh
21st of
God.
January it's like they've already met how much they're meant to be. I don't know what it is. I think maybe because like there's a really big junction in Brixton. Don't know what it is, but like
Hmm.
I don't feel like having one cigarette every few months is going to do anything to you. I don't know if that's really bad of me to say.
I
Um,
think that's reasonable to say. Like it's one. Like it's not good for you, but you're not gonna like keel over and die. So
and I never
I don't
liked
know.
what?
You,
Me
you,
First is my
you
podcast. It's the
first.
it's the
Yeah,
Alizee show, not
exactly.
the vaginally discussion. I'm joking. Um,
It was called Scovcast. Thank you very much.
I never partook in shisha. Do you like shisha? I don't like it. I just feel like it don't taste very nice. And I think like shisha is way worse for you because is it in the it's the equivalent of having like 100 cigarettes in one go, is it not? I think feel like I'm just
Is
making that
it?
up, but I
I
feel
like
like it is
them, but
bad. I don't like it.
I mean, I haven't tried one in years, like years and years, but I did like them. It wasn't like a
Mm,
frequent thing. But
nah,
yeah, I don't know. It's like the experience of it or something.
it's
But
not
don't do
great.
it.
Even like like cigars as well. They're not great either. Just
Cigars. Oh, I love
no.
cigars.
Do you?
I
God, you're
love
such an
them. I
old
love
man.
them. I am, and I used to drink
You
like
are such an
whiskey and a cigar.
old
We would have like
man.
whiskey cigar poker nights.
Whilst you're having your
I
40 a day as well.
I am actually an old man. Oh God. This is awful news for me.
Well, you gave up though. You stopped smoking.
Yeah, ages ago. I
Yeah.
just I don't know, I just did. Like I just woke up one day and I went, "Yeah, that's it now. I'll just do it socially." And then that turned into I'm a very all or nothing person, like
Mm,
with kind of all of my habits. It's like I
mm.
go really, really into it, but at the same time I adjust really quickly to things. So if I just stop doing it, I forget. Like I can't stop eating chocolate at the moment, but I know if I just stopped eating it for like a couple of days, like I'd just forget about chocolate. Like it wouldn't matter in my life at all
Oh,
anymore.
I'm jealous of that.
I feel like I could do a lot more with my life if I tried. Now that I say this,
Maybe you should
could be
apply
so
that.
healthy.
You could apply that attitude to like work.
No, I think it only works for stopping things. I don't think it works for starting.
I
Could
can't
stop working.
You could do that. I can't control my slight sugar addiction. I mean, I guess it's nothing crazy, but I do have to have sugar every single day. And I feel like it's the dopamine seeking ADHD thing because I feel like I'm always just looking for something that's gonna boost my mood a bit or something that's gonna be a bit interesting, like even with my gambling habits.
Oh dear God.
But again, it's nothing bad. Like I'm not, you know, playing poker or doing a slot
There's
machine.
nothing
I
wrong with poker. Poker is not gambling. Poker is strategic,
I just do my little instant win scratch cards on the National Lottery app. But I do
which I
like
still
it's
think
it's bad.
yeah, you could just throw the money on the street. Like you could do that
But if I
if you
throw the
wanted
money on the
to.
street, I've got no chance of winning £1 million. But if I put it into an instant win scratch card game, I have like a 1 in 10 million chance of winning £1 million. So
I mean, you can't argue with maths, can you? Like facts are facts.
statistically, if I spend like, 10 million on these scratch cards, then maybe I'll win 1 million. So who's the winner?
You've lost 9 million.
Do you know, it is
Or is
really
that like
it,
a Sorry, I keep cutting over you today. Jesus, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm very eager to talk. I was just gonna say, is that like a sunk cost? I don't
Sunk
know. I'm
cost
pretending to know
fallacy.
maths. That, yeah.
It's so bad. I mean, like, it's nothing, it is genuinely nothing crazy. There's something about seeing numbers that makes my brain tick over. Like I even play these stupid little games where you're not doing anything really. You're just customizing little characters and then they defeat hordes of enemies and stuff. And you're not really even doing anything because you can set them, if you like win enough, you can set it all to autoplay. But it's something about seeing numbers go up. And then I'll do that for like an hour whilst I'm meant to be watching TV. And then I'll get bored of it because I know that seeing the numbers go up, like it hits a little dopamine thing in my head, but it's not like it's not translating to real world anything. And then I'll be like, do you know what? I'll just go do a scratch card instead.
Why don't you just play Sudoku and be done with it?
Because I'm not going to win £1 million if I play Sudoku.
I mean, you're probably not gonna. Okay, you can't argue with your flawless logic. I'm sorry. I don't know why I try. You know exactly what you're talking about.
I I didn't win the Omaze house.
You didn't?
No, I'm
That's
gutted.
stupid.
I'm
That's like
gutted.
fixed.
Yeah, I had so many plans of what I was going to do with this bloody Omaze house, because it had like it had a value of like 5 million. It had a rental value of quite a bit because it was like a 3 or 4 bedroom townhouse, and it's in
Mhm.
Chelsea. It was in the borough of Chelsea, like the posh part of London where all those dickheads from Made in Chelsea are at. So obviously, like I would be a landlord and I would rent it out extortionately to bankers. So in a way, I'm a lawful good,
Yeah,
because like
you're
I'm
stealing from the rich to give to the you.
yes, exactly. Like sorry, if you're paying like 7 grand a month for rent, why
Yeah,
shouldn't
no,
I be
then
able to exploit that, you idiot? Why are you paying 7 grand? If I had 7 grand a month for rent, I would get a house and get a mortgage. Like, what do you mean?
yeah, I don't know unless it's like, although even if it's a group of people, like 7 grand is still a lot. How many would you need for that to be reasonable?
Oh no, that was like like that would have been like each. No, it was like 5 grand each. I would have rented it out for a bedroom because
That's great.
it had a monthly rental value of like 15,000. But I said to one of my friends who lives in London, I did say, I would let you live there for like 400 quid a month, but you would have to sign an NDA that would say that you cannot tell the other housemates that that's what you're paying. So just pretend you'd have to pretend that you're a trust fund kid, but I'd let you live there for super duper because like 400 quid to live in Chelsea is so cheap and in a townhouse. Are you joking? Like I am
400 quid to live anywhere.
I know. I'm such a good person. I wish more people could see it. I'm
I
such a
thought you were
piece
gonna
of
say I wish
shit.
more people were like me.
Oh, that too. I'd be so less stressed out if more people just thought like me.
Yeah, I mean, same. But
Yeah.
then I don't know, that might conflict if we both want everybody to think like us, because we probably don't think the same way all the time. That would be an issue. I mean, you think 40 cigarettes a day is gross. I think that's standard. So,
I just think how on earth did you have the time? And did you
well,
not like
it's
we
something
off
to do with your hands.
oh yeah, but like oh no. No, that's too many. That's too many.
Well, keep in mind, this was before, like, obviously social media was around, but it was before it was like every single thing you did every part of the day. So instead of scrolling, it was smoking.
Okay. Okay, that makes more sense logically.
Yeah, yeah. And it's better for you.
Let me just do a little disclaimer. We do not promote smoking of any kind. We do not promote gambling. I'm just trying to be a bit honest. Look, I'm not perfect. I
Mhm.
crave a
I am.
cigarette. I you are, the rest of us aren't.
Yeah.
I do a little bit of gambling sometimes on the National Lottery, which, that they give their money away to charity. They give a lot of it away. So technically I'm just being a good person, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's what we said about the Omaze thing as well. So that goes to
Exactly.
charity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we do not
Wow, you're just so great.
I just feel like it's good to talk about these afflictions, because most people have replaced their nicotine addiction for just nicotine in vaping, which arguably I feel like that is like I feel like that is going to be worse in 10 years' time.
Mhm.
And I feel like we should talk more about um these things. Do you remember that era of YouTube where like the UK YouTubers, everyone was just so clean cut and kind of cookie cutter and um I don't know, like butter wouldn't melt. But then one of the vloggers of that generation called Tanya Burr, who I've spoken about a lot previously, she smokes. And I don't know if like she took up smoking as a more recent thing to aid with weight loss, or if she smokes the entire time. But it's like there's a contrast there between the clean image people are putting out and then maybe what they're really like. And I ain't interested in like I'm not putting out a clean image. I ain't interested in that. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I crave tobacco. Sometimes every day I crave cocaine. Every single day, I ain't gonna lie about it. It's just this me, innit?
I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think people really start smoking in adulthood, like as a new thing. Do they? I think if you've
I
made
don't
it
think
there, like
so.
you don't.
Yeah.
So probably she smoked the whole time, and it was just like all the YouTubers are doing it. And I think it was because a lot of the audience was American. And you know how
Mm.
they feel about stuff like smoking and things, like it's a really big deal over there. So I don't know. Except vaping is perfectly fine, apparently.
That's so funny that you say that about Americans because I remember being in secondary school and there was a boy in my class and he was I think well, he was half American. One of his parents was American. And there was a girl I was friends with, and she smoked. So we were like 13, and this was before I started smoking. And he was going on it, like at it, about it to her one day, like going on. He was being like he sounded English, but sometimes he'd take on a little bit of American accent. He was just like, "Have you ever seen a smoker's lungs?" And she was like, "I don't give a shit. Like, get off my back." But we were 13, and that was going on. It's just
Yeah, I don't
bad.
think any 13-year-old like cares about lungs. They're like, I can't see it in my body. It's fine. We're all immortal. My God.
How old were you when you first tried it?
Old enough.
Old enough. I think I was 14.
Yeah, old enough.
Okay. Okay.
I'll tell you after.
I was 14 when I started smoking weed, which is like way to ruin weed for the rest of your life. Why are you doing it at 14, you idiot? You know what I mean?
Isn't like, don't people start things quite young now in general?
Well, they did when I was a teenager, but there was literally nothing. Like I've told you in a previous episode, there was nothing to do in my town. My town just had a big
Mm.
Tesco's and people turning into MMA boxers and fighters. So like the only things to do in my old town were drugs.
Or MMA, you could have done that.
Drugs or drugs or bare knuckle boxing. It's just like there's no other alternatives if you live in my hometown.
That sounds really exciting and a really nice, positive place to grow up.
Oh, I love it. I miss it. Like looking back, we never realized how lucky we were, because I had like a house with a garden and a garage, I had a
Hmm.
house.
Hmm.
I haven't lived in a
Yeah, I
house
mean,
in years.
I grew up in a kind of a, well, because I lived somewhere till I was 8, and then we moved like completely out of the county, and we moved to like this shithole, Tipperary town. To this day, I despise it. I despise it, and I despise everybody in it. Hate it. It's the worst place. I lived there from when I was like 8 till I was like 16, 15, 16, and it was just the fucking worst. It's the worst. Hated it.
What was so bad about
It's just shit. Everybody
it?
was shit. It was a bad time. I don't know, like, well, in fairness, right, I was a fucking little weirdo. Like, we're
Mm,
we're not going to beat around the bush here. I was extremely off-putting and unlikable, as I am to
really?
this day. But
Can't imagine.
I know, right? Crazy. But like, so it was like a small town. Nobody really liked me. Like I had some friends and stuff, but like everybody kind of hated me. I guess technically I was bullied, but I kind of don't like saying that because it's not like I was like beaten up and stuff. Like it's, it's just
Yeah.
like people being shitty more than
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
targeted bullying. So it was just shit, and everything was awful. And as soon as I left, everything got so much better.
Mm,
So just hated it. I don't even know how to explain. It was just miserable,
yeah,
just bad.
yeah. No, I know what you mean because my hometown was a bit like that. Because yeah, I'm not gonna like either. Like in my secondary school, I got given a bit of a hard time by people. But I also did give it back. Do you know what I think? This is so fucking narcissistic to admit, but sometimes, because let's take Zoella specifically. I've seen people say that apparently Zoella was a bitch in secondary school, right? When she was a teenager. But I've heard people say that about Zoella, like, oh, she was a bitch or she was a bit of a bully or whatnot in secondary school. And it's kind of like in my secondary school, everyone was just quite mean to each other.
Mm.
You know, like people were a bit mean to me, and then I had a chip on my shoulder about that, so I'd be mean back. And sometimes I do kind of think, okay, but what's like the objective truth here? Because there's your truth, their truth, and then the truth, the baseline, like the real reality of things, right? Because if I ever got mega super famous, I don't know what I'm going to do to get this level of fame that I clearly want, by the way. But if I ever got like that level of famous, I'm so sure there would be like at least maybe like one or two people who'd come out and be like, oh, she was a bitch to me in secondary school. And it's like, yeah, because everyone was a bitch to each other. I got given a really hard time in year 7, and then that eased up because I discovered that I was funny by year 8. But then I had like a lot of issues. I had like a lot of dramas, a lot of like boyfriend issues and eating issues and stuff. So I would be a dick to people
Mm.
sometimes, and but it wasn't really about them. It was just like I would just be rude. You know, I remember someone being like to me once, you can be really rude, and I'm like, yeah, I'm having a hard time, leave me alone. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
obviously there's targeted bullying, like you were saying, where if someone is like beating someone else up, that's like, you know, that is
Yeah.
alarming. But the type that I think we're both on about, I do kind of feel like, okay, so what if Zoella was a bit rude to people in secondary school? Is that indicative of her like 33-year-old self now? Is that really? I don't think so. Because if we're going by that, I'm a twat. Do you know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
such a dick when I was a teenager. So if that is the standard, I'm still a massive twat.
I mean, I think we still do like hold people a bit too accountable for things they might have done as teenagers. Obviously, like there's a level, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like
yeah.
as a teenager, like your brain is developing, your hormones are like you're a bit of an asshole. Like every
Mm.
teenager is a bit of an asshole. But like I don't know, just for people to be like a bit rude when they're a teenager and then have that come up when they're like 30 or in their 20s or 40 or whatever, it's like, well, it's not really relevant. Like there's a line that could be crossed. Although I do still kind of remember the people who were like really nice. And I would still hope that they're very nice. So if they manage to be
Yeah.
not assholes as teenagers. Like I remember there was one girl, this was back in Tipperary, and she was always so nice to me. She would have been like one of the like cooler kids or whatever. Like I don't know what to call it. But like I don't know if she ever said anything about me behind my back. I don't really care. Everybody shits on everybody behind their backs when you're teenagers. Like it just is what it is. But she was so nice, and I remember like the day I came out, like a couple of people were kind of weird about it, and she defended me, and that was really nice. And she's an influencer now, so I'm like, you deserve it.
Really? Oh, I love
Yeah,
that. That's so nice.
yeah, she's great.
I remember once someone was giving me a hard time about something, and my friends, the girl who was getting lambasted about the cigarette lungs, that same
Uh-huh.
girl, she was defending me, because we were really close for a while, and now like we're just totally out of contact with each other. But I have seen on Instagram she's doing like she has a book account for doing book reviews and stuff. So I think,
Mhm.
oh, that's nice, that's sweet.
Yeah.
We used to disagree a lot about Twilight, but yeah, there were like there were some nice people. I don't know. I've been reminiscing a lot recently. You know, thinking of all the things that I should have done differently.
I think it happens. I had a phase of that as well recently. It was really
Mm.
It's like I'm in my 20s. Why am I thinking about secondary school? Like it's done. It's over. I can't go back and study.
You can, if you really
I'm
wanted
not
to. You
going
could.
to. I really
You
don't
could.
want to. Well, what would you do differently then? Like, is it the studying aspect or like the social?
I did socialize too much when I discovered, drugs and alcohol and stuff. So that, I would lessen that and I would go back and apply myself and study. Um, yeah. And just my GCSEs were fine though. I got like a few A's and C's and B's and stuff, but it should have been more like A's, you know.
Can you please briefly, and I know you explained this over message, but I've completely forgotten. Can you explain secondary school in the UK because your system is so different to ours and I get really confused. GCSEs are when?
Year 11, which is your final year.
Which is what age?
16.
So you finish school at 16.
Yeah.
That's very weird. I don't get it.
Why? What do you do?
You finish at 18, 19.
Is that like because is college combined with your school then?
College is university. It's the same thing.
Okay, so we got secondary school and then 16 to 17, maybe even to 18 is college. And then afterwards is university by the age of 18 generally. Though I think nowadays they have, God, what a thrilling conversation this is. They have changed it because I think Rishi Sunak wants to keep everyone in school until they're 18 and he wants people to like he wants maths to be mandatory. I mean, you have to do maths for GCSEs, but you don't have to do it for A levels. And I think he's kind of like, I think he's trying to change that or whatever, which, okay, whatever, hellscape.
Yeah, we had to do maths the whole way through. English, Irish, and maths. Those are the compulsory ones. And then some schools have like their own stuff. So I won't go too into detail because people are going to be like, they need to stop talking about this now. I'm bored.
Please stop talking about school.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about like the Matt Rife thing? Are you even up to date on that? The whole Matt Rife thing?
I know what you've told me, which is
Very
a fair
biased.
bit, I think.
Like
I
that's
just
not an
take your word
objective
for it.
viewpoint, yeah.
Well, I mean, you used to make videos about this kind of thing, so people took your word for things.
Yeah, which is wild. Like I wouldn't listen to me because I don't make things up on purpose, but I do dream a lot. So, like in philosophy books when like a wild statement will be said by some bloke from like the 17th century and it'll have a little asterisk and at the bottom in the footer it will say this came to me once in a dream. That's me. That's everything that comes out my mouth.
I love how you say in philosophy books, like I've ever read a philosophy book in my life.
Oh, it's a meme for sure. It's a meme for sure. I'll send it to you later because it's like it's an established kind of thing, you know. Well, I guess like I just wanted to kind of go over the Matt Rife thing a little bit because oh god, no, I hate myself. Such a parasocial bitch. Tana Mojo just did a like chit chat podcast about it and they mentioned the Matt Rife things and Tana and her co-host Brooke, they get called pick me's a lot and I know why because they can't ever really like properly criticize a guy and the energy is quite different when they're criticizing a man versus criticizing a woman and they were kind of like defending Matt Rife and I feel like look, I don't feel like they're hopeless causes. I just feel like they need things contextualized for them properly, because and I'm the one who should do that because I'm just infinitely wise.
Yeah, because it all came to you in a dream. Yeah.
Exactly. Matt Rife came to me in a dream. No, don't like that imagery. Wrong. Get rid of
I
that.
really did not like the sound of that.
No, thank you, Matt Rife. Please, please. I'm gonna have a nightmare tonight of Matt Rife chasing me with like his chin implants and his handsome Squidward face.
Faking medical information is a crime. You should not be going and saying that.
Jesus Christ. Like the girls, they said Theo Von has a because for people who don't know, Matt Rife, he's a comedian, he's in controversy because of his Netflix special where he opened it with a domestic abuse joke against a woman. And he specifically
Okay,
said
I
that
didn't
this
know
one is
this.
oh god, okay. Well, he specifically
I didn't know he
says,
was a comedian.
who did you think he was?
Just like an influencer or something? I don't know.
Oh, I love that because he would hate to hear that.
Somebody send this to him quickly.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I'll say a positive thing about him because I did find him earlier this year. Similar time I found Theo Von as well. And I think Matt's crowd work as a comedian is very good. He's really good at doing improv with the crowd and his audience participation. His actual stand-up itself, and I am a stand-up connoisseur. Like, I know I watch the shows. Like, you know, you know what I mean? Like, I do watch like a lot of stand-up and stuff, right? But I would also say Theo Von, who, like, I've sent you his TikToks. You know who he is. Please, can you confirm you know who Theo Von is?
I know who Theo Von is. Yes, I've been talking to you for long enough. I know who he is.
So I love him. I think he's just so funny. And he's just so he's an intrusive thought that just keeps coming out, you know? And but I will say, I think his stream of consciousness stuff on his podcast and when he's interviewing people or he's on like different podcast stuff, I think that's when he's at his best and his peak. When he's on Joe Rogan, like he's just at his best, right? His stand-up, I've watched some of it. Not the same. I don't find his stand-up funny. You know, I feel like he's just so much better when he's not scripted, when it's just coming out and he's so smart and stuff, right?
Mhm.
So with Matt Rife, he got a show on Netflix. He did a domestic violence joke, which I mean, I don't know it off by heart. It's a joke that's been done before. Basically about a woman being hit or something because she can't cook. I don't know. It's like it's an easy joke, and he says like I've not watched it because I can't stand Jordan Peterson anymore. But I saw like a clip of H3 talking about he went on Jordan Peterson and he said it's a modern retelling of a joke that like a lot of comedians have heard before, and it's like, well, okay, well maybe there's your problem, right? Like it's an old joke, it's not original.
Mhm.
I watch a lot of stand up, and it's funny when stand up mixes with the online world because people do that, audiences and mass public people do that thing where everyone's pretending to be a little bit more progressive than they actually are. Do you know, like
Mhm.
people get onto the moral outrage high horse quite easily.
Yeah.
And which I've never been keen on anyway, because you'll notice that the people who do that very publicly, they soon get called out for like doing something a bit immoral, you know. So I've never been like, we're all human, right?
Mhm.
And I think there's a conflict between putting stand up online or having it mixed, because like he got his career from putting his audience his crowd work on online. That's where like he was getting all the views, and not his career. That's unfair to say. He's been a comedian for like 10 years, but he started to blow up when he started uploading to TikTok and stuff, right? And here's the thing. A lot of stand-up comedy is edgy.
Mhm.
There's a comedy night in London that kind of prides itself on being we're anti-PC, as if that's, oh my god, such a shocking thing. Most stand-up and stand-up comedy is quite anti-PC or it is edgy, you know, from a
Mhm.
variety of people. And you know, I kind of like some edgy comedy, but it has to be funny. And I think you do need to look at who you're targeting, whether you're like George Carlin is one of the greatest comedians of all time, and he was incredibly edgy, but he was always punching up, never down. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think like that's important. I'm not going to get upset that he made some domestic violence joke. I'm just not. I've heard worse. Like people aren't going to like hearing this, but like recently, at least in the past 2 years, there's been a resurgence of like 9/11 jokes at comedy clubs. Because I've gone to comedy clubs and like there's been those kind of jokes. It's kind of like, okay, interesting. But the intent behind him doing it is what concerns me, because he did it. He says this one's for the guys, and it's a joke about hitting a woman. So it's like you're trying to pander to men who will find that thing funny. That's red flag number one. Red flag, the biggest red flag is that he's clearly upset that most of his audience is female. So he is trying to pander to a certain demographic of man, because he's
Mhm.
like, behind closed doors, he's probably being made fun of by other comedians for having like a mainly female demographic who think he's attractive. Like he's probably being made fun of, and he's so insecure, because that's what it is, that he can't deal with that. So now he's trying to pander to a select, because it's not all men. Like a lot of men won't find like that joke funny. It's a certain type of man that is finding that
Mhm.
funny. So it's like your female audience and demographic got you to this position in the first place, and now you're trying to undo that. That to me is the misogynistic part. And also why, no offense to any men listening to this, why do you want men for fans? Men aren't going to be standing there outside the ticket hall to get like early bird access to tickets. Men aren't going to be buying your merch. It is women. Women are the best demographic to have on YouTube, which is why like I get a lot of sponsorships, because like my demographic is women between the ages of 18 and 36. They're the best demographic to have. Women will ride or die for you. Men won't do shit. No offense to any man who's been listening to this for like, the past 2 years or whatever. You're the exception. But like, you really want to undo all of that just because you can't take a little bit of jibing. Also, he's the one who brings up his glow up. He is the one. I have seen him, like, not even prompted, just start talking about how, oh, well, people just, men don't want to laugh at me because, like, I'm paraphrasing. He hasn't come out and said that he's hot, but, like, that's what he's implying. And it's like, okay, Matt Rife, if you're so hot, and you're fed up of only women find you hot and they're only going to your shows because they think you're hot and they want to shag you, remove the veneers.
Can I please look up a picture of him? Because I've forgotten what he's looked like now. What he's looked like? That is not English.
Look
I'm
at
sorry.
a before and after. And this man wants to pretend that he's not had chin implants, or he's not had jaw filler, or even a bit of cheek filler. Like, he wants to pretend that. If you are so upset at you being maybe pigeonholed or stereotyped a certain way because, oh, only women find me attractive and people don't want to laugh at like good looking guys, dissolve the filler, remove the implants, remove the veneers. It's a self-made problem, babe.
I don't generally like to like talk about people's appearances, but I just feel like it's relevant.
He's bought himself, go for it.
He looks like a Lego. Like, what the I'm sorry.
I had water in my mouth then. Thank you for that.
But like, he does, like, that's not, I don't get it. Maybe it's just because I'm not straight, but I don't see the attraction.
I am straight. I am straight, and
oh, his before is way better.
It's more natural. It's more natural, but
no, but he looked nice. Like, he has a nice, pleasant. Well, he looks like a shithead. Like, I'm sorry. Like, he kind of looks like he's an asshole, but he has a pleasant face. But now he looks not like a person. I don't like it. No, I don't get it.
oh, and the reason, okay, I always start so many different branches of thoughts, and then they never go anywhere. But the reason I brought up Theo Von at the beginning is because Tana Mojo and her co-host Brooke, they were trying to say that well, Theo Von has a DV joke. It's a clip, it's on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I've seen that joke, I've seen that clip a bunch of times, right? And the context of that clip is he's talking to Joe Rogan, and they say something about Monster Energy, the cans of energy drinks. And Joe says something about it, and Theo turns around and says, that those men are going home to punch. Like, that he's saying the type of men who drink Monster Energy are the type who will go home and hit their spouses later. Now, is that a joke making fun of the action, or is that a joke making fun of the type of person, the type of man who drinks it? What do you think?
I mean, that's clearly about the men. So it's a completely different joke.
It's so I don't see anything, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm always open for being wrong, but I don't see anything inherently toxic or problematic at making fun of the types of men who do that things, as opposed to Matt Rife's version, which is making fun of the victim. There's like a clear difference. It's the punching up, punching down thing that I just mentioned, like about George Carlin, So they tried to use that as an example. And it's like, okay, well, you're just wrong there. Also, it's not fair to really bring up Theo Von, because I feel like Theo Von is such an exception to a lot of things, because he can certainly get away with saying a lot of things that I don't think the average comedian can. And I feel like it's because there's no malicious intent, that he's endearing. Personally, I do think that he's like a comedy genius. He's so smarter than people give him credit for. Whereas like this whole Matt Rife thing, the intent of it was to pander to men who would find that funny, and do what? Like, piss off your female demographic? Why, dude? Like, you've got the demographic most people would dream of. So what if some other comedians are like ribbing you backstage?
Isn't that what comedians would do with each other. I just imagine that's how they are. Like you take the piss out of people in general. And I imagine comedians do it worse with each other because they're actually like funny and like witted.
Yeah, and it certainly shows up that he has an insecurity about it. That's how I just feel. This isn't coming from a confident person. And then the whole thing of that TikTok plastic surgeon saying, "Oh, when you create like the world's best jawline." And then the person gets cancelled. He doesn't
Mhm.
mention anyone. And for the audience members who don't know, Matt Rife commented on it saying, what was it? What was it?
Something like lying about someone's medical history is illegal, FYI, or something like that.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, so who can't take a joke now, Matt? Like, why would you air yourself out that way? If I want, and I don't hide the things that I've had done to my face, but if I wanted to hide it, I wouldn't air myself out by
Yeah.
like naming myself in a. Why would you do? Are you
You're
dumb?
inserting yourself into it.
But I just how overreactive must you be to do something like that?
Well, if he is like as insecure as like it seems he is, then yeah, he would get like immediately defensive. I'm
I
sorry, he
just
seems like a big man child to me. I don't
I
even
just
know this man and I hate him.
I just had a Michael Scott like joke go through my head in because I was just thinking like like when Michael Scott has like the Women's Appreciation Day and he takes all the ladies of the office out for shopping and then he's like, do you know what? Like I'm a big supporter of women. I'm more like a woman than I thought. Today I was acting emotional, illogical, irrational. I was just thinking like that about Matt Rife. Like he's acting emotional, irrational, like a woman. Joking. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and by the
See,
way,
that's a good joke.
thank you. There are some people. Thank you. I didn't come up with it. Fucking. But there are some people who take issue with The Office because, like, oh, Michael Scott is problematic, and it's like that's the point though. Like he says an outrageous thing and then in every scene there's like five people telling him, the character, why that's a bad thing and why you shouldn't say that. And that's what's funny about it. Like we're in on the joke that he's being obnoxious or he's being ignorant. And
Yeah.
it's not coming from malicious ignorance place. It's just he's trying to people please, but he's doing it in the worst way possible each time, right? And that's what's so funny about the character, you know?
Mhm.
But again, like it's clearly not coming from like that malicious place. Whereas I feel like this Matt Rife thing is being calculated and malicious, but then like to turn around and act so emotional and irrational as well. Like, and then also to like go on Jordan Peterson's podcast. Like, what are you doing, man? It's such bad optics.
Do you think he's trying to be like, how do I word this without like implying things about him that aren't true? Like people like Andrew Tate are very popular at the moment and they're growing. Do you think he's trying to be like a comedic Andrew Tate? Which I will say, Andrew Tate as a character, if you forget that he's a real person and has allegedly committed crimes and is awful and is ruining an entire generation of young boys, is quite funny just with like the theatrics of it. Like, you know, the video where he's like talking about Greta Thunberg and he's smoking a cigar and his like shirt's open and he's got the pizza boxes. It's like you cannot be taking yourself seriously.
If it was, heinous crimes aside, if it was just a satirical character, but he's
Yeah.
been playing the long game with it, like I would have to be like, okay, bravo, you are truly the best satirist of the century. Like
Yeah.
I'll pass the crown over to you, kind of thing. Unfortunately, for what I can see, it's not. Do you know
Mhm.
in a similar vein? Do you know who I think is a character, isn't a real person?
Okay.
Piers Morgan.
Hmm.
I think he does everything for the controversy and for the views. Like he's a shock kind of commentator in that aspect. I don't believe that he maybe even believes half of what he says, which that doesn't absolve him of the responsibility of saying those things in the first place because he has a fan base that believe what he said. But I've met a few people left and right like that in my time who aren't necessarily believing what they're saying, but they're pandering to a certain audience. And it's just interesting. I met someone, it's funny because you can't really say the right wing people because you don't want to get targeted by like that.
Oh God.
I won't say names. Like there's a left wing figure who's been on like this morning and stuff, and has argued with Piers Morgan, who I've met and like hung out with at a party before, like in recent years. And we were having this conversation. It's kind of like, you don't even like you believe it, sure, but you're putting it on quite a bit, you know? And like kind of unfortunately, most people in media are like that because they have things to gain from it. You know, like most people aren't as, but that doesn't cover Tate. He's an entirely different, I don't even want to talk about him. But
Well,
yeah,
for
anyway.
Pierce Morgan, do you not think though, like he probably doesn't believe half of what he says, but there's a difference between like just saying stuff you don't believe and being like satirical. Like I don't know if I'd say he's being satirical.
No, 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 no. I think he's definitely like there's Piers Morgan the character, and then Piers Morgan the person who like I don't know has a bath.
That's the most specific and random thing.
Well,
Just
you know,
has a bath.
like has a nap because everyone's got to have a nap at some point. And don't you think like having a nap is a bit of like a silly Billy thing to do? Because it's like, oh, tee hee, I'm going for a nap. Like, oh, I'm tired and it's only 2 p.m. I'm just going to have a 30-minute power nap. Like, it's a silly
You've
thing to
given me
do.
like an image of him like tucking himself into his duvet, like going for a little snooze, like all curled up in his blankets. It's a weird image. I don't like it. He shouldn't sleep.
But I am going to stress, like, once again, it's not good to pander to a certain type of audience and say things you don't believe because people will take it at face value. And there are going to be young people who don't critically think. In my early 20s, I was a younger person who didn't critically think and took a lot of things at face value. And it's like, nah. And then it has real world, it has
Implications.
implication and a translation to the real world because it affects how people view things. Like there was a I can't bear to watch this stuff, but there was a documentary someone did about incels, and they had this incel talk to a woman at a bar, and afterwards he was kind of like, "Oh, I can't believe how normal that was," and that's because he's getting fed. And I don't have sympathy for incels. I do. Well, if you're over the age of like 25, I think grow the like. I don't care. You know, there's this argument that certain bad influencers, like who you just mentioned, um,
Hmm.
you know, they're ruining the next young generation of men. At this point, I don't care. Like, if you're over 25 and you're believing that stuff, then I don't care about you. If you're a teenager, that
Hmm.
is different, obviously. But I now care about the women that these people are going to go on and hurt. That's where my
Hmm.
sympathies lie, not with like these blokes who, by the age of 25, should know better. But yeah, this incel had obviously been like fed this kind of worldview from, let's face it, the online world. And then he found that talking to a normal woman, like at a normal bar, the experience was so different than what he thought. And it was shocking to him, you know? And
Yeah.
like, that's unfortunately a real world translation of what's going. Like, everyone needs to go outside and touch some grass.
Yeah. No, literally as
Like,
well.
literally just go touch some grass, dude.
But if you took all of your information about the world from the internet, like you're completely like everything online is so extreme. Like even like obviously we don't have to get into politics, but like even like
Mm-hmm.
politics online is so extreme. Just everything is ridiculous and blown out of proportion because the people with the most extreme views get the most likes because it gets the most engagement, blah, blah, blah. It's just
Mm-hmm.
how it works. So then people see that and they think it's true. And I think, I know you said like kids don't critically think. I genuinely think most people do not critically think about anything.
I agree with you. I agree with you because like, and this is it's maybe it's a bit of a silly thing to say, but you're not taught at schools to critically think. And I think like now with everything being online, like the curriculum in England and Ireland, I guess, needs to like catch the fuck up. You need to now teach people how to vet their sources, how to check. Because now uh, when something happens in the world and people say, well, other people need to be educated more and you need to educate yourself more, it is now getting to the point where it's like, well, how does someone do that? Because if you're going on news sites, all of them have an agenda. Last I checked, Daily Mail, which is right wing, and the Metro, which is left wing, are both owned by DMG Media. So it's literally two hands, the left and right, on the same fucking body. There's a bias and there's I don't want to say propaganda, there's an agenda going on there when a company owns a left-wing paper but that's just the standard for media. You can't really go
Hmm.
to like many newspapers to fact check. You can't go to alternative media because like that's its own cesspit and that's its own like craziness and unregulated like nonsense going on. What are you meant to do? You know, what are you meant to do? You have to teach people to critically think. But even then, I just kind of fear that the internet has become Pandora's box.
Well, I do think, like, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, like it needs to be like a mandatory class, at least for a few years in secondary school. Like you have to learn about this. But then the problem is like the people who are in charge of making curriculums and stuff don't really know what it's actually like. I think they're usually a bit older by the time you get to that stage of your career,
Yeah.
and things have progressed beyond their understanding. So I
Yeah.
don't know how they do it. Fix all the education systems. That's the And somehow this came from Matt Rife. I don't know.
Shit. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's my roundabout opinion on Matt Rife. Education needs
Fix
to be better.
education. Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense. It kind of connects. So,
Yes, my one message to Matt Rife is remove your veneers and then we'll talk.
and there you go.
I think he's kind of like I got nothing to base this on. I think he's jealous of Theo Von. I've really got nothing to base that on. But it's just funny because it's like Theo Von is very well loved, you know?
Well, do you have nothing to base it on, or did it come to you in a dream?
I think it came to me in a dream that Matt Rife is actually secretly jealous of Theo Von and Theo Von's ability to be a bit offensive, but no one really cares because he's endearing, because he's like, you know, he's a bit of a sweetheart in a really weird way. I don't know.
Do you know those like blind items that they do about celebrities? Like they're on TikTok a lot.
Oh, and it's called like, isn't it called like Du Moi or like something like that?
Oh, yeah, that's one of the like accounts, but then there's a whole just thing of blind items. I don't understand like what those are, where they come from. If they're not naming anybody, can't they just make up any shit that they want to? And it like I don't get it. God, I should make satirical blind items on TikTok.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, why not? That won't affect anyone's real
Not
life.
satirical. No, but make it obvious it's a parody. Although anytime I've done that, there's always people who are like, huh? Like I think I put up a TikTok ages ago, I've referenced this before, and I was like, the guy who invented electricity, like how did he get it in the light bulb? And people thought I was fucking serious. They're like, this woman, like women don't know anything. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Clearly we're the problem. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, parody and the internet don't mesh too well because you will get people who take things seriously or don't see the obvious joke. But like that is kind of why it is fun to do parody and satire. Like if you want to wind people up, but in like in a fun way, not in like a baiting or like politically baiting way.
Yeah, no, just in the light. I think I'm gonna do it. Watch me forget as soon as we stop recording this that I
I
said
think
this.
you should make make something up about Matt Rife, please. Please. He's done the one
This
thing that
Lego ass mother was
he's
found.
he's done the one thing that you shouldn't do on the internet. You should never ever show your weaknesses because people don't like that. Never make a video of yourself crying if you fucked up. Like, don't do it because people once they're like sharks. Once they scent weakness, they will go in for the kill. And he's shown to me that he's clearly very insecure. So I don't know about you, but I'm gonna have some fun with that somehow. I'm just going to like cyberbully Matt Rife a little bit.
Oh my God. I feel like you maybe shouldn't promote cyberbullying.
Oh, sure, but oh, that's another thing that annoys me about like this whole thing with because there are some comedians who really think that they are the last bastion in the free speech debate against like the woke liberals, and it's just kind of like calm down. You are an entertainer, you're a performer. Like, be quiet. People shouldn't be going to comedians, left or right. They shouldn't be going to comedians for like moral judgments or political engagement, you know, like
Yeah.
because like right-wing comedians are especially bad for that, but left-wing comedians as well. Like I was listening to who was it? I think I was watching like a Russell Howard thing once. He's a English comedian, yeah. And because he has this show, Russell Howard's Good News, and I think I was watching like a recent episode, and I was like, hang on, why is he just soapboxing to me? Like he's just doing he's doing a few jokes, but there is a political rant underneath
Mm-hmm.
this that he's writing at me. I don't know why. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, I feel like we're
Mm-hmm.
both on the same side. Why am I watching this? This is not enjoyable. This is just like it's not even that funny, you know. So I turned off. These people, and there's a English comedian called Stuart Lee who has this. I love Stuart Lee. He has this great bit about Ricky Gervais,
Mm-hmm.
who I don't mind a lot of the time. I mean, thanks to him, The Office US came out, which is so much better than The Office UK. The Office UK is just whatever, who cares? Stuart Lee has this bit about Ricky Gervais and how people like him, and Matt Rife falls into this category too, because he's saying the things that you can't say. That's why people like him. He says the unsayable. He says the things you can't say on a Netflix special watched by millions of people. He's saying the things that you're not allowed to say anymore. Like he has this whole bit about it, and it's so true because it's people like Matt Rife and Jordan Peterson like goes into this little bit where it's like you can't say these things anymore, and it's like, bitch, he just got a Netflix special.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's on Netflix. Yes, you can say, shut up.
I actually do like Ricky Gervais, to be honest with you.
Cancelled. Can't say that. Can't say that
Can
anymore.
you
You
not?
can't say you like. Nah, joking.
Are we not
I think
allowed to like Ricky Gervais anymore? What
I
won't
think
the
he's all
woke left
right.
take away from us?
To me, like I saw one of his shows not too long ago actually, because I was given a free ticket, so I was like, oh, I got nothing to do. And to me, it was kind of like some of it was funny, but some of it was like, oh, you're just trying hard, man. Like, shut up. You know. Actually, I think I mentioned this on this podcast, right? Like because he's become like a free speech person, as if we don't have like free speech in England anyway. I'm just gonna say, right? He's catering to like that kind of audience. And when I went to one of his shows at the beginning of this year, I saw a lot of middle-aged, like bald men with crossed arms watching him, right? And like middle-aged bald men with crossed arms aren't allowed to find anything funny, you know, because I guess having humor is a type of emotion, right? They're always like looking cross in public. And he's saying these jokes that like they probably agree with, like non-ironically. You know, he's saying ironic, rude jokes. They probably agree with it non-ironically, but they're just sitting there like this, just glaring, not enjoying themselves because God fucking forbid you like who drinks like a piss warm can of Carlin down at the local. You can't enjoy yourself publicly. It was just funny because it's like, Ricky, this is the future that you're going to have if you like just rein it in a little bit. Yeah, I mean, like be a bit more nuanced, right? Anyway, sorry, rant over.
No, it's just that idea of like men not being able to enjoy themselves. That must be a British thing, right? Because that's not here at all.
It's definitely it's a certain type of like middle-aged I'm gonna say it, Brexiteer. You know, like bold, probably has like I love my mum tattooed on their back, and like Liverpool FC or like Manchester or like some sort of football, Chelsea, whatever thing on their back. You know, as soon as like there's a bit of sun in the summer, that's it. They're whipping the shirt off, their beer bellies out, they're walking down the street being like bloody foreigners. Like it's that like there's such a specific, and I don't care if I've offended someone by saying that, because guess what, you are not my demographic if you fall into that category. But it's that specific type of like didn't vote leave twice for this. You know, like bloke, they can't enjoy themselves, and like you never see them like cracking a smile, or you know, very specific. I mean, not all middle-aged white men, not all, just quite a few.
Irish people are just so unserious, and we're just fun people. Like I always say, the only like passport control that is ever nice and pleasant is the Irish one. They're always so friendly. They're always like, welcome back, or like, oh, it's the weather's shite. Good luck.
You're Irish.
Yeah. I'm glad you figured that out.
Yeah, finally, I can work out the accent. Right, can I? I'm actually really bad at accents. Can I ask you what's going on with Conor McGregor? Because he said something about I need to apologize, and then he just like
he's taking the piss.
Like yeah, but like what's going on with? Why is he in trouble?
So you know we had like you do know that we had riots and stuff, because I was like texting you like wasn't ignoring you, just there was riots.
Dealing with a riot as you do, sure.
Yeah, this is not a thing here, by the way, but can I just a quick run through? This is quite a serious topic, so I just go very quickly over. There was a stabbing outside a school. Not a teacher, but it's like a support worker and a young girl were stabbed, and the guy was like, I don't know, gotten or whatever. He was knocked over by a delivery driver, and then like the Gardaí came or whatever. But as a result of that, there was like a big riot in town because the guy who had stabbed the woman and the child was he was technically an immigrant, but he had been a citizen of Ireland for like 20
Mm.
years, or he'd been in the country for 20 years and was a citizen. But there has been like a growing like anti-immigration thing happening here, which is fucking stupid considering we're a country of immigrants. They're like during the famine, half of us went to America, half of us are
Mm.
currently in Australia. Like it's fucking dumb. So, and we were treated terribly in America. There was a whole big riot. And then it was kind of noticed afterwards that the riot happened because, not because, but Conor McGregor had tweeted, like, we're at war. They're coming for our children. And he's been like really one of the people pushing this anti-immigration shite, which
Okay.
he's just an embarrassment to the country. Like he's
Mm.
actually fucking embarrassing. And I know the gym that he goes to. I can get there right now. They could be anywhere in Dublin. But he's just like a fucking gobshite. And then people are like calling for him to like have some kind of something happen against him. But the thing is, we don't have any laws that actually like directly protect that, which
Mm.
I don't know. It's a tricky subject. But he's a gobshite. Everybody thinks like he has too much power and should be taken down. And he's just loving the attention because he's a folkhead. And like,
Well, he is, isn't he? That's just a fact, right? It's a fact.
yeah,
Yeah,
allegedly,
sure.
in theory, in my opinion. So yeah, he's an embarrassment, and then he did that tweet like, "I need to apologize," just because he wanted like people to click on it, I guess.
Yeah.
That's that lovely story.
It's always tricky when, and also the person that stopped the assailant was an immigrant himself, wasn't he? Because I
Yeah, he
read a
was
news article about it.
Brazilian.
Yeah, he took off his Deliveroo helmet and clubbed the guy over the head, and I just thought that is iconic. What a
We love
legend!
him.
Yeah.
He's great.
Um, yeah, there's always an issue with like social media when stuff goes on, because this again is the thing of educate yourself. How is the average person kind of meant to anymore when everyone just has an opinion and feels like they have a need to broadcast that opinion? Very ironic that I'm saying this from a podcast, but I built this podcast up myself. Clearly there's an audience there for my opinions, right? Just
Yeah.
saying. Okay, kind of unrelated but also still semi-related but also funnier than
Mm.
because this obviously the Conor McGregor stuff isn't funny, but so a couple of years ago in Oxford Circus in London, um, something happened and it kind of got turned into, I don't know how to say, because like, do you know there's an expression called Chinese whispers, but that's actually really racist.
Is it racist?
Yeah, I myself, I'm only saying this because like I only found out about this recently because I sometimes I just sit there and I think to myself, why is that phrase phrased that way? And I'll just Google, like the history of it or whatever. And it turns out the phrase Chinese whispers, it's racist because it comes from like a racist stereotype I guess like anglicized people or like I don't know exactly where it came from, but basically it means that like, oh, because you can't understand how like Chinese people speak, you don't understand Chinese, but it's got a racist connotation. Like
Okay,
it's,
well, you can also call it a game of telephone.
yes, the telephone game. Yeah. But like
Hmm.
I'd never even like really heard of like the telephone game until like I read about this stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, fine, right. So just so people are caught up on that. Yes, Chinese whispers, offensive term. Better to say the telephone game. It got turned. So something happened in Oxford Circus, and it so quickly got turned into like a real life telephone game where they blocked off like all the. I'm laughing. Like, wait till you get to the end of this. People automatically thought, oh my God, it's a terror attack happening, right? So I think it was around about the time that there were terror attacks happening in London. And so people immediately fled. And Oxford Circus is one of the busiest parts of London. It's where like all the shops are and stuff. Everyone like fled. The street was deserted. People were inside the big shopping buildings and they were trapped, right? And they were like, oh, we have to stay in here because it got turned into, oh my God, there's a gunman on the loose. There's a gunman in Oxford Circus on the loose. And Olly Murs was trapped inside, I think it was like a Debenhams or a John Lewis. And he was live tweeting, being like, oh my God, there's a gunman. I'm hiding inside, like hide behind a coat rack or whatever. And it got turned into this huge thing. And this is what actually happened.
Oh God.
Someone on Oxford Circus Underground at the tube station pushed someone else. That's it.
What? Like not on the tracks.
No. Just like they pushed. There was a skirmish, but it so quickly got turned into something's happening. Oh, now there's a gunman. Blah 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 blah. And Olly Murs had been live tweeting, and I think actually, ironically, Piers Morgan called him out on it, being like, you are so irresponsible for, you know, promoting that without knowing better yourself, like saying that there's a gunman running around Oxford Circus. It was just someone had a little skirmish where someone pushed someone else. It got turned into like maybe a little mini fight. And then
how did that happen?
I don't know, but because like no, I don't think anyone seriously got hurt, therefore it's okay to laugh about it because that is hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Jesus fucking Christ. Just like somebody got shoved and they went, it's terrorist attack.
I think like they must have. Do you know what? Actually, I'm going to do a live Snopes right now. I'm going to Oxford. I'm going to Google it just to make sure. Because I am considerate. Also, Oxford Circus gunman Olly Murs. Oh my God. Olly Murs defends tweets mistakenly claiming gunshots he was in Selfridges, so I was wrong. He's defending himself. So he had been tweeting stuff like, really not sure what's happened. I'm in the back office, people screaming, running towards the exits. And then he tweeted, everyone get out of Selfridges now, gunshots, I'm inside.
What do you mean gunshots? Did he hear gunshots?
No, this is so funny to me. After initial panic and widespread reports of gunshots at the scene, the Met Police issued a statement saying no evidence of shots fired or any suspects located by the police. Passengers who were on the tube platform, which initiated the self-evacuation claim, the panic was started by a fight between two men. So two men had a little fight. Someone pushed the emergency button, and then it got turned into, there's gunshots.
Oh my God.
I am so proud of my capital. Like I you know, like no one got hurt. It's fine to I just love that. I love that for us, that we're so like we're such a miserable people. Londoners, like wherever you're from, as soon as you move, immigrate, whatever, to London and you become a Londoner, you become miserable. You're always in a rush. Like if someone is on the tube and it's busy and they've got a pram, you're tutting at that new mother. You're like, oh, should have stayed at home, lady, out my way. Like you turn into a miserable person. So the fact that like we are that, but simultaneously we all just like shat ourselves and thought, oh, there's a gunman because like someone hit someone else.
I feel like I didn't notice like people being miserable, but I don't notice things, and I was only there for a day. Although there was one like when, do you remember you asked me if I could pick you up a vape when I was there?
God, airing me out. It was my birthday. It's fine.
No, it was just like I was passing the shop anyway.
Yeah.
So it was grand. But you told me like the flavor, and then I went in and she didn't have those flavors. So I was like trying to get you to respond to my text, like, and you can tell me these are the options, but you weren't responding for ages. So I was just standing in the shop, and she was so clearly not happy. Like I was just standing by the crisp, so I wasn't in anybody's way, but she was like glaring at me. I was like, what the
yeah,
just wait, like calm down. I stood my ground. I was waiting. You took ages.
I was doing my hair and makeup, and I was literally like over an hour late to my own birthday party, but that's because I am just like fantastic that way.
Yeah, well, it was good for me that you were late because I was there at the same time as you, or I arrived like just before you. So that meant that I didn't have to go in after you.
You're welcome.
Or before you, sorry, to a room of people that like don't know. That would have been awful. Everyone would have been like, who are you? And I would have ran away.
Once I had a joint birthday party with someone because their birthday was like a week after mine, and a joint birthday party that we organized at the Hawley Arms in Camden. And I think I must have been like 22 or something, maybe 23. And I was over 2 hours late to my own party because I was at home snorting MDMA. And by the time I got there, I was in the best mood ever. And I remember some girl had this like this amazingly like textured dress, and I was like to her, like my jaw was swinging, and I was just like, I don't want to be weird, but can I just like touch your dress? And she knew the score. She was like, absolutely, go for it. And I was like, wow, what a great birthday.
Was that your best birthday ever?
Do you know what? It was actually a pretty good birthday because it was a good party. It was a good turnout. I was absolutely just like chock-a-block. So I was just off my head. It was a pretty memorable one. It was a pretty good one. I remember it. Yeah, that's pretty good. Anyway, we should actually end this episode. We didn't get round to doing the things, but we'll just do them in the next episode.
Perfect. Get 2 episodes out of it.
Exactly. Thank you for listening to our little chit chat about God, I don't know.
Matt Rife.
Yeah, oh God. Oh God. We're gonna get in trouble for this one. Oh,
I don't
why
think we
men
said anything.
no, but like men are so sensitive and emotional and they're so irrational and illogical and they just overreact. And my comment section is just gonna be full of angry boomers being like, well, I thought the joke Matt Rife did was funny. Okay, good for you. I don't care.
Before you comment, ask yourself, does your comment make you sound like a woman?
Always bear that in mind. Do you sound like a woman right now? If so, change it. I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
I love women.
Me
I
too.
for one am grateful for my mainly female demographic. I'm grateful because when I first started doing YouTube many moons ago, initially I think my first like couple hundred or maybe thousand followers were men, and boy, the fucking difference in the way that men were, and like they're following me and they're engaging with my stuff and they're liking my posts, but they would like just be so rude and nasty. And in turn, because like that was my experience of the internet, I was rude and nasty as well. And then I did a few Anision videos. I got this influx of female followers. Women were being so nice to me. And because my humor was way edgier when it was a mixture of like immaturity, being younger and stuff, but also being around that type of like person online in my online world, shall I say. I had like an edgier sense of humor when I was younger. And just like having so much positivity from women, I stopped being as nasty thanks to having like a mainly female demographic. It's true.
It's just women are wonderful. They
Yeah,
make
because
you a
they'll be a
better
nice.
person.
They do. Like women, like in fact, I think Jack Whitehall has like a joke about just how women will always find something to be nice about in each other. Like men are horrible. Like you get a group of men on a stag do, they're horrible to each other. They're like, you know, stitching someone up. They're tying someone to a lamppost in like a foreign city. You know, like that's what men like a stag does. But women, his joke is like you could have just like an absolute beast of a woman, and she'll still have like a jumper that says nice eyes. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of his joke. But it's true though. Men, like they would be so horrible to me. They would tell me like, "Oh, you're getting fatter," or "Oh, like you look ugly today," or whatever. And then like I in turn would turn around, just be nasty right back. I used to be like, "Whatever, you're all virgins. I don't care," which is hilarious and iconic of me, to be honest. But then like women, they were being so nice to me that I was like, "Yeah, do you know what? I'm gonna stop being as edgy. I'm gonna stop making as edgy jokes because I'm just not feeling that same kind of like anger inside me anymore. Wonder why. Thank you, women."
It's a mystery, really.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. Make sure you check us out on Spotify and iTunes. 5 stars, please, on iTunes. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.